Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your day and your weekend. Here to break down the latest on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Saturday. We're watching two areas. We're running more of a heightened risk of strong to severe storms. We'll speak on that and zoom into those areas, get very detailed. We'll talk about how there could potentially be a winter storm across the northern Rockies like Montana, Idaho. How much snow could you expect from that? We'll talk about some details on that. And then we'll give you some updated information on a lot of rain that continues to fall out there across South Florida. We'll have another day of showers and storms across the southern half of Florida, but some of this energy could make it all the way into North Florida. Could have some pop-up showers and storms in the Carolinas and Georgia also. So we'll zoom in all these areas. We'll speak on it, get very detailed like we always do. And then after that, we'll move into the future and start to speak on the severe weather outlooks to come over the next few days, as I do think pretty much each and every day, all the way into early next week, does run at least a risk of strong to severe storms. And I think most of this will stay confined to the northern states as we're getting deeper in the year. Typically, our severe weather, I would say higher risk areas begin to shift north on average. So we'll give you some updated information on that, and then we'll give you a pretty detailed look at the tropics, talk about what's going on. I'm going to speak on why I think model guidance is struggling with our area of interest that has been the Bay of Campeche for the last few days, and how the percentage has not went up or anything like that. We're going to speak on why. And hopefully we can explain this where you guys as the audience can understand. But we're going to talk about impacts. I think we're going to get a lot of tropical moisture. I think it'll be the western Gulf of Mexico's turn for a lot of moisture. Areas like the coastal regions of Texas, Louisiana could get a lot of rain next week. So we're going to give you some information on that. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like. I've had to start this video over about 10, 15 times. Just struggling this morning. Feel fantastic. Just struggling to get these videos going. So hopefully we rumble through this pretty well and smooth. But if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So a lot of energy cruising across the Midwest, starting to leave the plains, enter the Midwest. I always consider like Nebraska to Iowa kind of the transition to the plains, the Midwest. Not sure if you guys out there that live out there consider that. But anyways, there is a cutoff area of energy kind of embedded in weak ridging right here. And this is promoting just a lot of rain, a lot of storm activity, and the atmosphere will refire up again. And we have a 5% risk of a tornado, which we'll talk about here in a second. So a little bit higher of a risk of a tornado. All this energy up here, like in Montana that you're seeing, this is really driven off an upper trough with embedded energy. And this will drive an area of strong to severe storms up here too. And everybody in between could get this too, but there's two heightened areas, one up here, one down here. So we'll get very detailed on that here in a second. A lot of rain continues to just meander around, dance around down here in South Florida. This will continue to be a common theme over the next 24 hours. And we do have some rain beginning to enter Atlantic Canada, for example, starting to leave the down east areas of Maine. And I do think all this will continue to head east, and we'll actually have a pretty nice day in the northeast. Southwest, hot, pretty calm this morning. We do have some energy entering the Pacific Northwest. So that's what's going on right now. Watches, warnings, advisories, excessive heat watches up for areas like Minneapolis. So hot one coming up today over the next couple days. Check out these winter storm watches in the teal color. High wind warnings up too. Could have brief blizzard conditions setting up for the later half of the weekend, really into early next week. We'll speak on that. Heat advisories continue in the orange. Excessive heat warnings, red flag warnings too, starting to get quite dry in the four corner states. And make sure we get these right. Yeah, red flag warning. Sometimes the excessive heat warning color and the red flag warning look way too close to one another. Some dense fog up here in the essential apps. So outside of that, that's about it. Excessive rainfall outlook, we do have a slight risk up here in areas of the upper Midwest, Midwestern states, Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, areas of Iowa, and areas of eastern Nebraska. We're getting a lot of rain down here right now, but there is a 15% risk in this yellow area of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance up in this yellow area. 5% risk of that same criteria in the green. The Storm Prediction Center outlook, two pretty large slight risks. You got one up here, including a good chunk of the Dakotas, eastern Montana, Bismarck, Rapid City, Minot, you guys included into this. And then we have a slight risk across areas of eastern Nebraska, northern Kansas, western half, basically, of Iowa, and a very small section of southern Minnesota. Level 2 out of 5 risk. Omaha, Lincoln, Des Moines included into this. So tornado risk, 2% risk up here. So it's not non-existent up here, but it's the highest down here. There's a 5% risk of a tornado now, like in the Omaha, Lincoln area. Omaha, College World Series ongoing. There was some awesome games yesterday, especially that Tennessee Florida State game. If you are just a sports fan in general, I'm more of a football guy. Definitely by a long shot. I love basketball too, but I love all college sports, so definitely was tuning into that. But 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of the given location, right on top of Omaha. So be aware of this. A wind threat, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour in the yellow. Same thing with this yellow, but if you notice the difference, black outline region in this area means there's a hatched risk, which means there's a chance of significant severe winds. So there is a 10% risk of winds exceeding 75 miles per hour or higher in this area. Hail threat, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in the yellow. Same thing with this yellow, but once again, there is a risk of significant severe weather, which is this hail. So in the black outline region, mine not included, 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. This outlook could tweak a little bit, could change. So I'm making this video as around 6:30 Eastern time. So just note that though. The southeast, really one main thing I'm watching, just another area of energy down here in the Gulf of Mexico. Don't expect this to form into any kind of tropical system, even though you see a low down there. It's very weak. 10 millibar low is pretty weak low. But we get into this afternoon, could get rounds of showers and storms that kind of just make their way throughout Florida. But you see these pop-up showers and storms maybe driven off maybe like a sea breeze working its way inland. These are always pretty gnarly features that you see once you get deeper into summer or deeper in the warmer months across the Carolinas and Georgia. You'll have these boundaries that pop off the coastal regions, and then they'll surge inland, and you can see them on radar. And sometimes you can visibly see them. It's pretty crazy. And right when they move in, showers and storms can form behind it. So we'll watch for that. Very hot conditions across the southeast. The humidity will uptick. Heat indices, the feels like temperatures will get well over 100 degrees, but we'll get a lot of just widespread shower and storm activity in the southern sections of Florida. Might rain all day in certain areas, but more of just pop up the scattered activity the further north you get, like to Orlando, to Gainesville. Not as widespread, but still a good chance for showers and storms. You see these downpours popping up in Georgia, Alabama. We got some storms. Hopefully, I live in Columbia, South Carolina, for any new viewers, which is right here in central South Carolina. Really hoping that these storms actually come to, they actually happen. I really do, because it's starting to get kind of dry around here again. But a lot of moisture still kind of in the northeast Gulf of Mexico. A little bit closer look at all these areas. Here's Florida. Notice big storms fire up right at Orlando, points kind of north to Gainesville. Watch those storms. They could pack a punch. More so just consistent rains down here in South Florida. Just rainy times, definitely a rainy start to your weekend. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And then we get into the overnight hours all the way into tomorrow morning. Around the Big Bend coastline of Florida, could greet you guys with some more rain, but we'll see what happens. And then we move a little bit on up the road to the north for my folks and friends here in the Carolinas, areas of Georgia and Virginia. Take it till about midday. Bang, storms pop up. This is really about 4 p.m. If you're vacationing in Myrtle Beach up to Wilmington, you could have some pop-up storms. Don't cancel all your activities. This is typical summer stuff. But we'll watch for these storms. They'll kind of pop up, and might be some boundaries kind of firing out there that kind of drive these storms, which means typically when these storms do fire up, they kind of just fall apart as quick as they fire up. So it does show some storms firing up around like Columbia. Let's hope that happens. I really do. Sorry, my friends in Columbia, but we could use some rain. It's always wild this time of the year when we go like 7 to 10 days without rain, how quick the grass can brown. And I'm lucky to have an irrigation system and a well. So it doesn't cost me as much. I don't have a water bill. I just have a power bill to run the well and the irrigation system. But it always blows my mind. You can always tell when it's getting dry, because my grass will still look relatively green. But there's a dividing line where the sprinklers stop. And you look at my neighbor's yard, and it's just starting to get that kind of mute green color, grayish green almost. So it's starting to look like that out there already. But we'll see if we can get these pop-up showers and storms to get going. But, it's not going to be for everybody. But up here to the northeast, it's an actual phenomenal day of weather. It's really nice. We get into this afternoon, any kind of moisture finally just heads on out to Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and the rest of Atlantic Canada out here. So it sets up to be a really nice day. Not a whole lot to speak of. You kind of gotten rid of these pesky showers and stuff that you were dealing with like early this week. So pretty nice day expected up here from our friends in the Northeast. The South Central U.S., I think most of everybody will remain pretty calm weather. I do think there's an opportunity for some strong to severe storms, very isolated from the panhandle of almost said Florida, didn't say it though. Panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, all the way up to Kansas, eastern Colorado, maybe even eastern New Mexico. Does run an isolated shot at a strong to severe storm. But I would say 90% of everybody probably isn't going to see a drop of rain. But it's very possible. Watch out down here near Lubbock to Odessa. This region right here could get, an isolated strong to severe storm. Could have some showers moving across northern Kansas into the overnight hours, and Kansas City might wake up tomorrow morning with some rain flying around out there. Maybe a storm, maybe a rumble of thunder. But other than that, the southern plains look calm. But just note, you do have the marginal risk, level 1 out of 5. Just definitely more of a, just conditional threat, I would say. That is the right word for it. So, but we head on up the road to the north central U.S. We're going to spend some time on this panel. So there's a couple things going on here. First off, this morning, HRRR model doing an okay job with initializing on the moisture here in the Midwest. We'll continue to just get these showers, maybe some storms firing up down here in central Iowa. Widespread rain could move into the Minneapolis area around midday today. Maybe some rumbles of thunder with this too. And we keep this going. Widespread rain begins to move into the central and northern portion, especially of Wisconsin. Some of this rain activity will eventually make it to Duluth, and just a rainy afternoon and evening for areas of northern Wisconsin for sure. And eventually, this will try to make it all the way into the UP of Michigan. And then, of course, your eyes go to all these reds and oranges and yellows down here. These are the big time storms that could be ongoing this evening across Iowa, maybe even southern sections of Minnesota. Look at these storms in southern Minnesota hitting. And we're going to zoom into these areas, so hold tight with me. I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. But a lot of heavy rain could potentially move into western Wisconsin. And it's just going to be a rainy overnight hours across the UP of Michigan, it looks like. And then we could wake up tomorrow morning to the central to eastern half of the UP, it raining. And then Wisconsin, a lot of rain flying around out there. Could have a thin line of storms working its way to Lake Michigan. But a closer look at these highest impact areas for strong to severe storms. So like I said, this is driven off like a cutoff area of energy. And, after we get rid of all the morning rain and shower activity, the atmosphere will try to recover. And this is when we could have some isolated, it looks like. Nebraska doesn't look as active, but we could have some isolated shower and storm activity, some that could be severe. And I could see western Nebraska having a risk of this. And then extreme eastern Nebraska, kind of in the middle of Nebraska, I don't expect much activity. But you see, Sioux Falls, Sioux City area, could get a strong to severe storm. This looks pretty intense, large hail. Look at this pop-up storm down here south of Omaha. This could be right on top of Omaha. These models aren't going to be dead on. They're just used as guidance. Some storms are possible in northern and northwestern Nebraska. And then this heads on out, guys. Could get some storms that form overnight in Omaha and Lincoln, and then heads on out to the east. But you notice it really wasn't that widespread. Now, you look at the latest model guidance, and same kind of deal. Just kind of shows, look, this is around 6 p.m. College World Series. There's probably going to be a strong to severe storm, at least right on top of Omaha, or either within 1 to 2, 3 hours of Omaha. So that's just something to watch for if you are tuning in. Whether you live in the Lincoln, Omaha area, or you're there for the College World Series, definitely kind of a typical summer type deal. There's always been some epic lightning shots. I remember when my team went to the College World Series back in 2010, 2011, and there was a pretty crazy lightning shot over the baseball field. But anyways, getting off track here. But, if we look at our friends here in Iowa, I think it'll be a lot more active in Iowa. We get to about midday. Could get some storms firing up in central Iowa about midday. I don't think that these will hang on much just because they're going to work back into an environment that's being worked up so much by this the morning and early afternoon shower and storm activity. But the atmosphere will quickly kind of rebound, recover. Look at these strong to severe storms down here in southwestern Iowa. And we could just get no clusters of storms. Like there's a cluster down here, could be producing all hazards, damaging winds, large hail, a tornado risk. Anything that gets isolated like this has the highest tornado risk, has the opportunity to take more advantage of all the atmospheric players out there in the atmosphere. So watch out for these storms right here. And then these look like they grow up scale. So if you live like just north or south of the Iowa-Minnesota border, I mean, this is like 9, 10 o'clock this evening. Could be dealing with some intense thunderstorms, cluster of storms down here too, south of Des Moines. These could very well be connected, guys. So if you live in this little gap, don't just immediately think you're not going to get any storms. You very well could. And these storms could get all the way up to Minneapolis. Might not, though. And this continues after midnight, and I do think this activity will continue to drift to the east. And by the time you get into like the wee hours in the morning, I think you start to lose some steam for sure. But going back to Nebraska, this is the updraft Felicity swath. Just because it's not showing a lot, because there isn't a lot of storm activity in Nebraska. But anything that can get going in the eastern side of the state could produce. There's a 5% risk of a tornado in eastern Nebraska, right on top of Omaha. I mean. So just note that anything that can get going in eastern Nebraska has an opportunity to produce all hazards. And then, you look at Iowa, certainly highlighting the two clusters it likes on this particular run, one right here and then one down here. Okay, but you look at the potential wind gusts with this that we'll show you on the fly here. And some intense wind gusts with this is very possible. There's an embedded area there, that's pushing like 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And it's very possible with some of these storms, they could produce, 50, 60 miles per hour, 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. I've been struggling this morning. It's funny. I said yesterday morning, I thought I was going to struggle on the video, did fine. This morning, I felt fantastic before the video and struggling a little bit. But anyways, 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts just in general are possible in Omaha. I think it just would be very breezy and, in general out there, even outside of any storms that impact the city, Lincoln, Omaha, Des Moines. But if you get hit by one of these storms, there's enough wind energy out there to produce some damaging winds for sure. So now we head up to the northern plains. I honestly think the worst weather will be up in Canada. But the first impulse of energy starts here pretty, about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Might start as far west as eastern Wyoming, but certainly will impact western South Dakota, maybe even as far south as northeastern Colorado. And we'll see how intense these storms are. We just got to watch. I think there'll be a few hour period where these storms could pack a punch in western sections of South Dakota. And then these storms will try to get going right up here in southwestern North Dakota. You see these storms starting to form around, northern sections of Montana. Basically, the entire eastern section of Montana has a risk of strong to severe storms, but there's an opportunity somebody might not even get a drop of rain. I think that this cluster of storms right up here, if you live right up here you might as well say western North Dakota, eastern South Dakota, but especially tucked into the northeast corner of, Montana, northeastern corner of Montana, I really would watch for this cluster of storms right here, right before it's about to leave the U.S. mainland, heading to Canada. That could be when it's the most intense. And man, if you live right up here, I'm telling you, in northwestern North Dakota, let me know if you live here. I would love to know if you're tuning in. This is around like 10 p.m., 9, 10 p.m. These storms, man, could really pack some damaging wind gusts, some hail, and a lot of energy with this. And then it heads into Canada, but we could still be dealing with some strong and severe storms across the northern counties of North Dakota throughout the overnight hours all the way into the wee hours of the morning. So be aware of that. The predicted wind gusts from this, check this out. Picks up on those storms that form. These could produce 60, 65, 50 to, I would say anywhere from 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. Even shows a cluster of storms in northern Colorado. But you see the hour by hour intervals here. So definitely picking up on some strong wind gusts with those storms that formed, though I talked about in western South Dakota and all the other states. And then it's this area of storms right into here. In fact, we're just going to zoom into this. Let's see, Montana. Let's look at, I just want to get closer, guys. Come on. Man, it is. All right, here we go. That's a good look right here. Okay, let's go back to this. This area of storms, I know probably not a whole lot of people are tuning in to live up here in this area, but I just want to show you guys. This area of storms looks quite intense. If you live out here in the plains of eastern Montana, western North Dakota, and you live up here in this region, these winds could gust to 80, 90, 100 miles per hour. In fact, if they do put an enhanced risk, guys, it will be for this, a very small corner up here. So be aware of these. This is going to pack some punch. I mean, that's like over 100 mile per hour wind gust. So be aware of that for sure. If I was a storm chaser, I would come up here. Way up there. That would be awesome. But the western U.S., today's not very active. Convective feed of moisture will kind of continue to impact northwestern Oregon, western sections of Washington. We'll get some showers, some very high elevation snow, but not a lot of cold air has really worked into the northern Rockies or Cascades yet. But we'll get rounds of mainly rain across areas of northern Idaho, northwestern Montana, and across the state of Washington. We'll kind of get some showers across the northern counties of Montana. And then we'll take it all the way into the overnight hours into tomorrow. And this is when a little bit more cold air begins to work in. But the rest of the central, southern Rockies, southwestern U.S. looks quiet. It's really what's to come. And we'll start this off for like Sunday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon. Showing you some love out here, Karen, in Montana. And we'll start it off tomorrow afternoon. It really is what happens, I would say, early next week. You know, this is getting into Monday morning, June the 17th. Look at this blue showing up. Snow begins to fall pretty heavily based off the Euro and the higher elevations of Idaho, Montana. Look at that. I mean, we're getting into Monday afternoon, Monday evening. All the way, I mean, we'll keep this going. I mean, all the way into about Wednesday, and it looks like it tapers off. So snow will add up. You look at the blend of all models, you know, obviously you can see this is confined to those higher mountaintops, but several inches of snow is possible. Somebody could get over a foot. It's certainly more once you get up into Canada, but wild stuff, you know, not totally unheard of by any means. But, you know, still mid-June, it's pretty wild. It really is. Maybe a little snow getting down to the Yellowstone National Park area. So we'll watch for this. But temperatures getting pretty hot out here. Now, this is just getting downright hot. I mean, southern tier of the country, 90s. Somebody might sneak and hit 100 degrees somewhere in the southeast, but I think mainly it'll stay in the mid to upper 90s, some low 90s. You get a little bit further up the road. You know, I said it was a really nice day in the northeast, but you are going to have a little bit cooler temperatures in the far interior sections of the northeast. But I mean, who's going to complain about 60s and 70s unless you got a pool in your backyard and you can't really use it? But really, once you get down to the southern tier of New England, you know, you get down into New York City, very nice temperatures. And people think I'm crazy when I say this, and I love because I work at Cummins. It's a place that works on diesel engines. But we have a lot of RV people that come in this time of the year, and we work on what we call Onan generators, which is a brand generator. And I love this time of the year working there because we get a lot of RV customers, and I love to ask RV customers, you know, where they're heading, because I love hearing the stories. But you know, a lot of them are from the north, and they've kind of moved to the south, and it always blows their mind when I tell them, man, I'm a southern boy that would love to live like further north. And they're like, what, are you crazy? But I don't know, just would love it. I know I share that story with you guys all the time, but it is wild how the northeast just takes so long to really fully move into summer. It really is. Like, it takes full on to July to really make this happen for you guys. And today's a great example of it. You know, temperatures are not going to be very warm, just more so comfortable. So power bill will be, you know, at least nice this week. So, but the southern tier of the country, hot. But look at this. You can tell the cold air moving in, right? Temperatures much cooler. Immediately confined to the Pacific Northwest, basically. But it's getting blazing hot up here in the northern plains, 80s and 90s. Pretty just typical summer type stuff down here in the central and southern plains, but very hot in the southwest. So, the severe weather risk to come tomorrow. There is a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather stretching from extreme eastern Wyoming across southern South Dakota, southern Minnesota, all the way into western sections of Wisconsin, very small section of northern Nebraska, northern Iowa included into this, very large marginal risk. And then the tornado risk is actually below 2%, but that could change. Wind threat, only a 5% risk. This is really driven off hail. There's a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. Okay, and then we get into Monday. Remember, this has been on our outlook map for a while now, but now we're inside day 3, so we actually have an outlook. We have a slight risk, kind of some of the same areas that's been dealing with it. Level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather happening up here in the northern section of the country. And what we just know is that there's a 15% chance of severe weather within 25 miles in a given location. Now we move into Tuesday. Now we have an outlook for Tuesday, day 4, Duluth, up here in the northern lake country up here in Minnesota. Level 2 out of 5 risk for Tuesday. Slight risk up. What's going to be the biggest threat with this? Probably about the same as I would say Monday. But of course, we'll get very detailed on that as we get closer. Update on the tropics, guys. This is now to a 0% chance of developing. Doesn't look like Invest 90L is going to get the job done. So a lot of our eyes are focused in on this. That still is at a 50% chance of developing within the next 7 days. So this is our area of interest. It upgraded from a 40 to a 50 yesterday in the 8 a.m. update right after I dropped the video, which tends to always happen. So, there'll be another update here in about an hour. They could bump it up to a 60% chance. They might decrease it to a 40% chance. But the reason that, the chances for development hasn't dramatically shifted one way or the other is because model guidance is everywhere. And I'm going to talk to you about why right now. So latest GFS will start us off for tomorrow morning. And we'll get this in motion, and we'll take it into Sunday evening, which you'll notice just a lot of moisture. But the GFS really wants to latch this area of moisture here in the Gulf of Mexico. See this kind of blob of yellow, orange, red? Well, it takes all this tropical moisture and plows it into the Texas and Louisiana coastline, points inland, right? So that's something to watch. I mean, that's a lot of moisture. I mean, it almost develops a full-fledged tropical system. Okay, but it doesn't do anything in the Bay of Campeche. So this is kind of new. It really just likes this energy. And once upon a time, like several days ago, this is kind of what it originally showed. But anyways, never really gets anything going down the southern Gulf of Mexico, Bay of Campeche. It just takes this energy that it basically develops kind of off the Central American gyrum, broad area of low pressure over Central America, slingshots it over the Gulf of Mexico, plows it right into Texas, Louisiana next week. And then it is still gung-ho about showing some sort of area of energy shooting out the Caribbean, getting into the Gulf of Mexico, developing it into a tropical system and hitting the Gulf coastline. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm not going to rule it completely out. GFS loves to do stuff like that. I talked about that heavily in yesterday morning's video. But let's just focus in on what we got going on next week. We'll start this off on the European for next Monday morning, for next couple days. All right. It's already got, let's back it up to Sunday. It's already got a lot of moisture kind of surging into the Gulf coastline. It's got a lot of moisture showing up for Louisiana already from Monday. But it continues to kind of work its way down the coastline, down to Texas Tuesday. There it develops. You see that L that popped up? We're getting into Tuesday. We're getting into Wednesday morning. Pops the L up again. Lot of green, splotches of yellow being thrown into the Texas coastline, areas of Louisiana. And then it finally kind of just shoves a big plume of tropical moisture into the coastline of Mexico, southern Texas, delivering a lot of rain. Just a huge blob of moisture, large area of moisture, very broad area. One thing I am watching too is this interesting little impulse of energy here, little vort, little tropical wave. We've seen something like this before. I think it was like Tropical Storm Danny or something, I want to say. But you want to watch this little wave that kind of plows into Georgia and to South Carolina. Just watch it next week. So just want to watch this little area right in here. But, as far as what the GFS is showing with that area that shoots out the Caribbean, I mean, it doesn't really show much. It does show an area of energy indicated by the green. And this is like next Monday morning, June the 24th. But, models have really got to come together a little bit better with this. In my opinion, the reason why the models are struggling with showing is anything going to develop and why I think they're kind of backing off for more of just a consolidated area of energy in the Bay of Campeche is because of this, what we call ULAC. It's called an upper level anticyclone. And this is what this is right here. Oh, right here. So I'm actually I meant to pull this up right here. Let's see if we can get it. It's going to ask me to update about a million things. So just bear with me here. I meant to already have this pulled up, but yeah, there it is. Start a free trial. All right. So if you notice, there's this little swirl down here. And remember, these tropical systems, I'm just going to draw it over here, go like this in the northern hemisphere. They spin like this. Low pressure spins like this, right? But if you notice, and this is winds on the EPS at 200 millibars, like 35, 40,000 feet up in the air. You see these little lines with arrows kind of going this way? So this is actually spinning like this, but this is the upper levels of the atmosphere. This isn't in the low levels. Low levels probably going to spinning whatever other direction. And we're just kind of speaking as if there was a low pressure right here. So we'll talk about what that means. Watch as this spin continues to kind of move over Central America, the Yucatan Peninsula, and then this upper level spin kind of moves out into the Gulf of Mexico. So it's right here, right? This is for next Tuesday evening. So you got that upper level spin going on like this. Okay, winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. What we call is another way to call this is an anticyclonic cyclone out here, or flow. Okay, so if there was a low pressure right here, the winds in the lower levels, lower to mid levels, would probably be going like this, kind of around this low. But winds, I'm sorry, yeah, my bad, got that all wrong. The winds would probably be going like this, okay, and the opposite direction of the flow on the upper levels. So basically in the low levels, you have the normal flow around the low pressure going like this. In the upper levels, you got it going in the opposite direction. So you're thinking, well, what does that mean? Well, what happens here is the flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere pushes air away from this area in the upper levels. So think if there was a tropical system right here, okay? Air is rising through this tropical system trying to get a lot of convection ongoing, all right? And as it rises way up in the air in the upper levels kind of pushes it back out because the flow in the upper levels is going in the opposite direction. So it kind of flows up and then it pushes it away, flows up, pushes it away. This allows for the continuation of rising air through this tropical system. So when you continue to have a nice ventilation of rising air, what does that mean? Well, I think we're taught at kind of a younger age. I feel like in like elementary school, maybe middle school, maybe not. I can't remember. But rising air is an indication of allowing for more convection, more development of showers, storms, convective energy. When you have rising air, it allows for that. When you have sinking air, it kind of acts as a negative factor of that. It doesn't allow for the shower and storm activity and all those things. So when you have this huge ULAC anticyclone sitting over the Gulf of Mexico like this, this is allowing just for a ton of moisture to continue to pop off. I mean, this is large. It's just spinning around this huge area. So this is allowing just for a lot of moisture to just continue to really develop out here. A lot of shower and storm activity. So even regardless if you have an all-out tropical system, which you do not early next week, like I'm talking about like a tropical storm or hurricane, regardless, you have a lot of tropical moisture. So did not explain that in some of my best ways that I have in the past. But anyways, but it really is there. I mean, look at this. This is a nice, gnarly upper level spin right here. Just an atmosphere that fully supports a lot of shower and storm activity. No shear affecting this. It's allowing for no dry air to really get involved. And that basically plows right into, North America, Mexico, and areas of Texas. Now, and for example, let's see if we can get a better example of lower level winds. And see how this is 500 millibar flow. right? This is winds about 500 millibars. What we were just looking at was 200 millibars, way, way higher up. 500 millibars, this is winds about 18,000 feet up in the air. You notice these wind barbs are moving in a totally different direction. They're kind of coming out, they're coming out like the southeast. And yeah, so totally different flow at different levels of the atmosphere. Hope that makes sense. And you see how it's kind of trying to spin around this vortice down here. So that's kind of our lower level spin, right? But it's more confined to down here. So probably just spent a little bit too much time on that. But you get what I'm saying. And then to translate what I just explained to all that moist air in the atmosphere, here it is. Green air indicates more moisture in the atmosphere. Brown air indicates more drier air in the atmosphere. And sure enough, as you get into that same time frame where I showed you where that anticyclone is, right over this region, low pressure shows up in a lot of green, a lot of moist air right over the Gulf of Mexico. Untapped moist air just chilling over this area. And then all of it just is plowing into Central America, Mexico, Texas, Louisiana. You see all this green. This is at the surface reflected to a lot of rain and showers and storms. So a lot of moisture in the central and western Gulf of Mexico because you have a favorable upper wind pattern that supports just tons of shower and storm activity. So hope that makes sense. And another way to look at this is 850 millibar flow, right? This is flow in the low levels of the atmosphere, like a mile above our head from the surface. And you can actually see why this makes this struggle. So, you heard me say, why is model struggling? It's because you have such a huge area of moisture that the atmosphere really can't lock onto an area of energy because you have so many areas of energy. For example, you get in the next Tuesday afternoon, you got this little area of energy right here, more vibrant colors, and you got this down here, a little bit of a spin, very elongated spin up here, but nothing, it just has a very hard time latching on to anything. Eventually, the latest Euro does latch it on in the Bay of Campeche, so it's still, backing up the National Hurricane Center, but it really takes a long time. And then there's that little spin you want to watch off the coast of the southeast late next week. So, there's a real struggle. Little areas of energy here, kind of strung out. So you almost don't need such a great environment, if that makes any sense. But regardless, this is going to have an opportunity to bring a lot of rain into the Texas coastline. This is just between now and Monday evening. Brownsville up to Corpus Christi, Houston right here. Not a whole lot of rain. But watch as you move deeper into the week. This is the blend of all models. And we'll take it all the way out to next Friday morning. Okay? Now it's calling for like along the immediate coastline, 5, 6, 7 inches of rain. Okay? And it's the same thing. You head on up to our friends here in Louisiana. Look at all this rain showing up for Louisiana off the blend of all models. So, New Orleans, the Lake Charles, yeah, you guys have a higher risk of a lot of rain on the way. So it might be you guys' turn, with Florida getting it last week. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. Sorry for the little mumble jumble to, explain the upper wind pattern. I know people say, Mitch, why do you always apologize so much? It's annoying, but I certainly hold a high standard to myself and just always just trying to explain things the best way I can. But we'll have many more opportunities to roll through that a little bit more smoothly. But you guys have an awesome start to your weekend, an awesome day. Stay safe out there, and we'll continue to revise this information as it comes. God bless.